Smoke over D-Yard. If you think you know what happened inside Attica, think again. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let's walk straight into the prison riot that changed America forever. The smoke began rising over Attica before the sun did. At 5:13 a.m., a guard on Tower 3 radioed in, his voice shaky, almost drowned out by the wind. "There's movement in D-Yard, a crowd forming, something's wrong." Minutes later, the entire facility shook with a violent thunder of steel slamming against steel, not from the storm clouds gathering over western New York, but from inside the prison itself. Attica Correctional Facility, one of the most fortified prisons in the United States, had suddenly become a pressure cooker ready to explode. Detective Laura Moreno arrived just after dawn. She wasn't a prison investigator, she was homicide, but the call that woke her said one thing: a guard was dead, and the prison was on the brink of something catastrophic. She pulled up to the outer gate as state troopers rushed past with tear gas launchers, shields, and helmets, their boots pounding like a war march on concrete. The air smelled of smoke, sweat, and fear. Inside the administration building, Warden James Kellerman greeted her with a face drained of color. He was usually calm, controlled, the type of man who measured his breaths. "Not today. They took Block D," he said. "We lost control before sunrise." "How many inmates?" Laura asked. "Over 1,200. Hostages." The warden swallowed hard. 42. Laura followed him into the control center. Screens flickered with chaotic images, inmates standing on tables, covering their faces with bandanas, broken pipes spraying water like fountains, fires burning near the gates. One camera showed a guard lying on the ground in a pool of blood. "That's Officer Renner," the warden said quietly. "He tried to stop them. They beat him unconscious. Medical says he didn't make it." Laura leaned closer. Something caught her eye, a man standing near Renner's body, not participating in the chaos. Tall, dark hair, arms tattooed with something she couldn't make out through the grainy footage. He wasn't attacking anyone. He wasn't running. He was watching. "Who's that?" she asked. The warden sighed. "Inmate Marcus Hale. Lifelong offender. Smart, quiet, stays out of trouble. Until today." Laura didn't respond. Her instincts tingled, that feeling she'd learned to trust. Instincts saved lives. Instincts solved cases. A buzzer sounded. Commander Boyd from the State Tactical Unit sprinted toward the command center. "We've made contact with the inmate negotiators," he announced. 3 men claimed to be representing the others, Hale included. Laura raised an eyebrow. "So he's not just watching. He's leading." The riot wasn't random. Someone organized it. Someone who had the discipline to rally 1,200 inmates and the intelligence to control them. Hale's prison file mentioned that he had once been a college student before a robbery gone wrong turned into a manslaughter charge. He had brains, and anger that never cooled. Negotiations would take hours, maybe days. But Laura's job wasn't to help negotiate. It was to understand why Renner died in the first place. She asked to see the body. In the infirmary, the fluorescent lights hummed like insects. Officer Renner lay on a metal table, his uniform torn, bruises across his arms and face. But Laura noticed something the prison medic hadn't: small rectangular red marks on his wrist, the shape of zip ties. "He was restrained," she said. The medic frowned. "But the report says he was beaten during the initial rush." "Someone tied him up first," Laura said. This wasn't random violence. She checked Renner's pockets. Empty, except for something small stuck in the lining of his jacket. She pulled out a torn piece of paper. A handwritten note. It said only, "D-Yard, 3 a.m. Come alone." Her chest tightened. This wasn't part of the riot. This was a setup. She walked quickly toward the security office, heart racing. "Pull the footage from 2:45 to 3:30 a.m. in D-Yard," she ordered. Every angle. The footage loaded, crackling, distorted, but clear enough. At 3:02 a.m., Officer Renner slipped through the gates alone, flashlight in hand. He looked nervous. Someone whistled. Renner turned. From the shadows stepped the same inmate she'd seen earlier, Hale. But Hale didn't attack. He raised his hands, palms open, as if trying to talk. Another figure appeared behind Renner, shorter, thicker build, wearing a dark hoodie pulled low over his face. Before Renner could react, the hooded figure grabbed him. The camera glitched. When the footage returned, Renner was on the ground. The hooded man was gone. Laura leaned in closer. "Can you zoom into Hale's hands?" The tech did, revealing something strange. Hale's palms were smeared with dust, not blood. As if he had touched the ground, not the guard. Was Hale trying to stop it? The tech asked. Laura didn't answer. Her mind raced. Too many questions. Too many unknowns. If Hale wasn't the killer, then someone had used the riot to hide a separate crime. She asked the warden for inmate movement logs, guard assignments, and all staff who entered the facility in the past 24 hours. As she walked the corridors, she felt the prison tremble. Inside the yard, inmates shouted demands into makeshift speakers. Tactical teams prepared outside with shields raised. The sky was turning orange from the fires burning inside. Then a voice came through the command center radio. "A hostage has been released. He has information." Laura sprinted to the gate as medics surrounded a terrified guard with torn sleeves and shaking hands. His name tag read Officer Blake. "Tell me what you saw," Laura said. Blake looked up, eyes wide with fear. His voice cracked. "It wasn't the inmates," he whispered. "The riot, it wasn't supposed to start today. Someone triggered it early." Laura's breath caught. "Who?" The guard hesitated, glancing around, then leaned closer. "It was a guard," he said. "Someone on the inside opened the gates." Before she could ask another question, Blake fainted. Laura stood there, stunned. A guard started the riot. A guard killed Officer Renner. A guard was working with an inmate. But why? And who? Before she could process it, Commander Boyd burst through the doors. "Detective, you need to see this," he said, gripping a radio. "The inmates just sent out a message." The radio crackled, then a distorted voice emerged, calm, steady, almost cold. "This is Marcus Hale. We know who killed your officer. And if you want the truth, you'll have to come inside." Laura froze. Hale wasn't just part of the riot. He was investigating it. And he was inviting her into a prison controlled by 1,200 desperate men. She took a breath, eyes locked on the burning yard. And then the voice added one more chilling sentence. "Check the basement under C block before they find it first." The line went dead. Laura's heart pounded as she sprinted towards C block, flashes of suspicion slicing through her mind. But when she reached the basement door and pushed it open, what she found inside changed everything. The basement below C block. The basement under C block smelled of damp concrete and cold metal, the kind of smell that sinks into your clothes and follows you long after you leave. Detective Laura Moreno descended carefully, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. Pipes rattled overhead, and the hum of the prison felt distant now, as if she'd stepped into another world entirely. What she saw first didn't make sense. A small wooden chair lay tipped over in the center of the room. Beside it, a coil of zip ties, a broken radio, and a pair of black latex gloves. But what drew her attention most was the long streak of dried blood leading toward a locked maintenance door. She approached it slowly. The lock wasn't standard prison hardware. It was newer, installed recently. Too recently. Laura called for a bolt cutter. When the door snapped open, she braced herself, but nothing could have prepared her for the sight waiting inside. It wasn't a storage room. It was a hidden office. A single desk. A filing cabinet. A bulletin board covered with printed sheets, scribbled notes, and Polaroid photos marked with dates and times. She stepped inside, pulse hammering. The files were labeled with inmates' names, not just any inmates. Influential ones. Ones with power inside the yard. Ones capable of starting or stopping violence with a single whisper. And each file included a separate section marked leverage. Laura's stomach twisted. Someone had been keeping secret records on inmates for manipulation. Her flashlight moved to the board on the wall. Connected with red string were photos of officers, administrators, and inmates. Written in the center, circled 3 times. HRO, Operation Yield. She froze. HRO. Hostage response operations. But why would a program like that have a secret headquarters in a prison basement? Then she saw something worse, a printed memo stamped confidential tucked under a stack of papers. Phase 2 enacted upon signal. Riot environment required. Clearance authorized for Agent K. Agent K. Laura whispered it under her breath. A guard on the inside. She checked the desk drawers and found a burner phone, still warm, as if recently used. Call history wiped clean. But the real punch hit when she opened the filing cabinet. Her eyes widened. Inside was a folder labeled Officer Renner Assessment. Inside that was a report. Does not comply. Unreliable. Risk factor high. Attached to the report was a smaller note. Removed during Phase 2. Laura staggered backward. Renner's death wasn't a riot casualty. It was a planned elimination. Footsteps echoed behind her. She spun around, gun raised, but it was Commander Boyd. He stared at the papers scattered around her feet. What the hell is all this? He asked. Laura didn't answer at first. Her mind raced. Internal operations. A secret agenda. And a guard acting as an undercover agent inside the prison. She pointed at the memo. There's a covert operation running inside Attica. Someone is using the riot to hide murders. Boyd swallowed, eyes fixed on the evidence. We need to shut this place down, he whispered. If a guard's behind this, we can't trust anyone. Before she could respond, the radio on Boyd's vest crackled. Command, we've got movement in D-Yard. Hale is demanding Detective Moreno immediately. Says he won't talk to anyone else. Boyd turned. You're not going in there, he said firmly. But Laura was already heading for the stairs.
He knows something, she said.
And I'm not waiting for bodies to pile up. D-Yard looked like a battlefield layered in smoke. Inmates stood behind barricades of mattresses, metal tables, and broken fencing. Hostages sat trembling in the corner, hands tied, eyes wide with fear. Guards watched from the towers above, fingers tense on triggers. Then Marcus Hale appeared. He stepped forward with an eerie calm, hands raised, eyes locked on Laura. His expression wasn't the face of a rioter, it was the face of someone who knew a secret the world wasn't ready for. You found the room, he said. Laura's breath caught. How did you know? Because I've been tracking the man who built it, Hale replied. The same man who killed Renner. Laura studied him, trying to understand. Why would a guard kill one of their own? Hale's jaw tightened. Because Renner wasn't playing along. Because he was going to expose them. Expose who? Hale looked her dead in the eyes. A task force created to study riot responses, he said. Only it's not just a study. They're manufacturing them.
Controlling them.
Using prisons as test sites. The words hit like a punch. Hale continued, voice steady. This riot wasn't supposed to happen today. They pulled the trigger early. Someone panicked. Laura took a step closer. Who is Agent K? Hale didn't speak. Instead, he nodded toward the catwalk above them. Laura followed his gaze. A guard stood alone, watching. Arms crossed. Unmoving. Officer Kenner. She recognized him instantly, tall, calm, precise. The type of guard inmates feared and officers respected. He met Laura's gaze, expression blank but cold. That's him, Hale said quietly. Agent K. Before she could react, a gunshot cracked the air. Inmates screamed. Guards ducked. Hostages cried out. Laura turned sharply. A bullet slammed into the concrete at her feet. Kenner had fired. A warning shot. Then he spoke, voice echoing through the yard. Detective Moreno. Step away from the inmates. Laura didn't move. Do it, he repeated, his voice colder this time. But before she could speak, 2 inmates rushed Kenner from behind, and he bolted, sprinting across the catwalk and disappearing into the tower above. Laura chased after him, heart slamming. Hale shouted behind her, Don't let him reach the north gate. He'll destroy the evidence. She sprinted through the metal door, up the stairwell, and burst into the tower. But Kenner was already gone, the opposite door swinging open. Then she saw something on the tower desk. A detonator. Still warm. And beside it a timer. Counting down. God, no. She grabbed the radio. Command, evacuate Diard.
Now.
He planted. Her words were cut off by a deafening blast that shook the entire tower.
Light. Heat. Silence.
Then smoke curling upward through the broken windows. Diard was engulfed in chaos. Bodies running. Hostages screaming. And Marcus Hale, nowhere to be seen. Laura stared at the devastation, mind spinning. One thought cut through everything. Agent K hadn't fled. He had triggered Phase 3. And the riot had just become something far more dangerous. The truth inside Cell Block D. Night settled over Wolston Correctional Centre with a heavy stillness, the kind that made every sound feel louder than it should be. In Cell Block D, that stillness felt even sharper, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Liam lay awake on his bunk, staring at the faint beam of moonlight cutting through the narrow window. 3 days had passed since the inmate Callum Briggs had gone missing, and whispers had taken over the prison like wildfire. Every cell had a theory. Every inmate had a suspicion. But tonight, something felt different. More final. More revealing. Small Blue Diamond, the voice no one expected. Around 2 a.m., a soft tapping echoed down the corridor. Tap. 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 Liam sat up instantly. It wasn't frantic, it was methodical, controlled. He approached the door slowly and listened. Then came a voice.
Come.
Steady. If you can hear me, don't be afraid. Liam felt his chest tighten. He knew that voice. It was Callum, but it wasn't desperate. It wasn't panicked. It sounded peaceful. Callum? Liam whispered through the door. There was silence, and then the sound of footsteps walking away, not rushed, not stumbling, just someone leaving with purpose. Small Blue Diamond Officer Harris reveals the truth. Minutes later, Officer Harris appeared. No alarm. No urgency. He unlocked Liam's door and motioned him to step forward. I know you heard him, Harris said quietly. That's why I'm here. Liam stared, confused. Where is he? What happened to him? Harris sighed, the kind of sigh that carried weight. Callum wasn't harmed, he said. He wasn't taken. He wasn't hidden. He was transferred. Transferred? Liam repeated. Harris nodded. Callum had been approved for a quiet relocation to a protective unit. For security reasons, it had to be done discreetly. We couldn't announce it to the block. Not even officers on lower levels were told. Liam blinked. All the fear, rumors, and tension suddenly felt unnecessary. But Harris continued. The whispering tonight? He asked to speak to one inmate before leaving. He chose you. Why me? Liam asked. Because, Harris said, you were the only one who treated him like a human being. Small Blue Diamond, the note, wasn't a threat, it was a goodbye. Harris handed Liam a small folded paper, the same one Liam thought had been slid under his door mysteriously. This wasn't meant to scare you, Harris said. Callum wrote it. He didn't want you worrying. Liam unfolded it. The handwriting was calm, steady, unshaken. Thank you for being a friend in a place that has very few. Stay strong. Your time will come. Liam swallowed hard. For days, inmates had imagined conspiracies. Stories of disappearances, secrets, threats, violence. But the truth was simple. Callum had been moved for his own safety. Nothing more. Nothing hidden. Nothing sinister. Just reality, the kind no one ever talks about. Small Blue Diamond closing the story. As dawn broke over Wolston Correctional Centre, the truth settled in Liam's chest like a weight removed. Life inside prison wasn't always about danger or darkness. Sometimes it was about people quietly trying to survive, trying to protect each other, trying to hold on to pieces of humanity in a place designed to strip it away. Liam folded the note carefully and slipped it under his mattress, the only reminder that even behind the toughest walls in Australia, kindness still existed. And with that, the mystery of Callum Briggs ended. No violence. No conspiracy. Just a quiet truth inside Cell Block D.